Welcome, everyone. Here we go. Let's talk horses, life, living. Interesting conversations with inspiring people. And today, my guest is my very, very good, amazing friend, Simone Milasas. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for
I'm
having
like,
me.
how do I introduce someone like you? It's like I don't know. We have had so many good times together over the years and so much, just in this moment, looking at our relationship, quote unquote, over the however many years it's been that we've been friends and we've been colleagues and we've been horse lovers together. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for you taking this time to be with us. And I'm so grateful to have you in my life. Thank you so much.
I feel exactly the same way. Do you know how long have you been involved in Access?
I don't know. I try to think maybe 10 years, maybe a little bit more.
I think it's more because
Mm.
I was talking about because if you don't know, listeners, it's like I used to date Sarah's brother. And that's how it was funny. It's like our relationship broke up, and I was like, and I got Sarah in the relationship breakup. But I was with Brendan for 8 years, and someone asked me the other day, "How long has it been since you've been with him?" And I was like, "I think it's about 8 years." So I was like, "Is it 16 years?" Like, I don't know. It's like, yeah. I said it's a while. So I think it's longer than you think that we've known each other.
Probably.
So hey,
I just say 10 years, but I've probably been saying 10 years for like 15 years or something like that.
right,
So
yeah,
it's, yeah. Oh, and I mean, I was thinking about this podcast and us getting on together, and I'm like, it's probably just going to turn into like an hour or however long, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, of us like gushing over our pony, like two girls talking about their ponies. I'm like, I just I love the energy we get to be together when we hang out with horses and when we get to talk about horses. But it's like everything. Nothing's really just one thing. It's not like horses over here and life and living over there. It's like everything becomes a contribution to each other. And when I was thinking about like what I wanted to sort of go for on this podcast, I'd really love to start with, because you were just in Costa Rica. So if you guys haven't listened to the episode, Simone's been on my podcast a few times before. I don't know how many, but go and check those out. But basically, Simone's horse lives on the other side of the world from her. She lives somewhere in a completely different country. And I wanted to look at that a little bit, because I think for most people, that's a very foreign idea to them, to be able to have something. And in this case, it's a horse. It might be something else. It might be property. It might be whatever, even a lover. I don't know. But having something on the other side of the world that you see maybe a few times a year for a certain period of time, but looking at how, when you're willing to allow that thing to contribute to you, it contributes to you always. So I'd love to look a little bit at that, but also just talking a little bit about your last time in El Lugar in Costa Rica, where your horse Pluma lives, and just some of the adventures you guys had together, some of the things that came out of that time together as well.
okay. So there's a few things in what you just asked, and let's talk about the long distance relationship that you have with an animal. Because can horses talk? Yes, in a lot of different ways. And I know that I get I get really gushy when her name is Pluma, which means feather in Spanish. And I get so excited when I get to see her, right? And so, yeah, it is quite a few months or whatever in between when I'm seeing her. And I know when I go up to her stable, she's a mare too. So she has mare qualities, like that thing of, sometimes when you go in her stores, like putting her ears back and being like, fuck off, and then depending. And I know when I go up there, it probably takes about 1 or 2 days. And then she's so, like, when I go up there, she'll do the and and if I'm visiting another horse, she's like neighing and everything like that, and we have such a cool communion. And I notice it. I know a lot of other people have noticed it, like the communion that we have, and just this communion, let's say it like that. And then one day I asked Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access Consciousness, because I said, hey, what is it? I said, I know I love her and I adore her, right? And I said, I'll be somewhere like, I don't know, in the shower or something like that. And I think about her and I just go, and I love her. And I said, But I know she's not thinking about me going, oh, I love her, right? She's probably like, yeah, she's, you know, she's the lady with the apples and who rides me all the time, whatever, you know. But I was like, but I can perceive an energy from her. And I was like, what is that? Because it's not love from their end. And it's like, and in truth, it's not love from mine either. It's just this incredible amount of gratitude that I have for this animal that contributes so much to me in my body. And he said, it's the connection that you have. And he was talking about the connection, and we were talking about a mutual friend of ours, Dane, here, and he's had 2 horses over the years who have been sick and had cancer, and the vets were like, hey, this horse is probably going to die soon, and they didn't, and they kept living and living and living. And he said, but it was the connection that he had with them. And he said, having that connection with your horse also maintains their health. And I was like, wow. So I mean, I don't know if you're listening or watching, but I do have a photo of Pluma on my phone. And so every time I look at my phone, Pluma's there. I also have, because my good friend Sarah gave me this for my last birthday, right next to my bed, I have a big, frame or whatever. And it's got 2 different photos with me and Pluma. And then a photo of all of our horses' bums, basically, on the back end of our lugar. And so, I'm always like, good night, Pluma. Good morning, Pluma. So she's always in my awareness. And there's an energy that you can be with an animal that when they are in your awareness, when they're in your awareness and you're in theirs, that there's a connection that is so beyond this reality, but animals get it. And I think we need to start getting that too. And I'll give you an example also with my dog that I had from your brother. Previously, what I used to do is, because we used to travel all the time, and when we travel, you could feel Max just being like, oh, where are you going? So there's a tool in Access Consciousness that we called energy pools. And so what I would do with Max all the time was I would just fill him up with energy. And it's like, how do you do that? You just flow energy to the animal. And I could be, over in Europe, and I would think of Max and I would just flow Max energy. And it's this energy that I notice seems to calm the animal down, that you're still in their world. Right? You can also do this with young kids, etc., like babies, because people do that thing of putting a baby to sleep and then trying to sneak out of the room, and it's like the baby wakes up. No, you should be able to stomp out of the room, but leave your energy there, right? So contribute the energy. So that's one thing I would definitely do with Pluma. I will say she's created me. I booked my tickets already. I'm going to El Lugar, Costa Rica for Christmas, and I seriously don't care if I don't see any people. I was already like, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go see her and I'm going to give her treats and we'll go for a ride and then we'll have a bath and then maybe we'll go for a walk around the property and we're just going to hang out and then maybe I'll go have a cocktail with a few friends and then go back to Pluma. And so I'm creating, that trip based on, I want to see her. I was like, who do I want to hang out with at Christmas? I want to hang out with my horse.
That's so cool. And I mean, there's such there's such a simplicity to that. So I want to say it's like this purity or something where there's no baggage, there's none of this. And, because I think a lot of us desire this sort of energy in our lives, in all of our relationships, where we can have this excitement to be together, this time where we hang out, but then also when we're apart, that we can still be that contribution to each other and be that, that energy and be present in each other's world without it being this needy energy that we have. And that's one thing that horses have shown me so much, is they do that so well, because you go and it's not like Pluma gets depressed, where's she born? Pluma lives her life. She's happy. Yeah. She has such a presence and a personality. And I think the reason she has that more so, and it comes out of her so much, is because she has you in her life there to encourage her to be her. And you guys have this thing where, and this is what I love about, talking to people like you about horses in general, is they show us what is truly available in all facets of life.
Yeah, they do. And I've got to say thank you to you, Sarah, and Cody Law and Alison Cox, because I have attended Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider with you guys now a couple of times, right? A couple of times. And you've got another one coming up, which I think I was probably the first person to register for if you are listening to this, and if you can get to Costa Rica and attend a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class, please do, with any facilitator. They are amazing classes. But the thing I love about going with Sarah and Cody and Alison is you have 3 completely different horse people, and the information that they have, and all 3 of you are such a major contribution to me. And I remember the first time of getting on my horse, or a horse, bareback, with nothing there, and making sure someone was on either side of me and going, oh my God, I'm going to fall. Oh my God, I'm going to fall. And having someone hold them and all this, and just thinking, I didn't trust my body at all. And I also didn't trust the horse. And now it's like, I'll jump on Pluma bareback and, I'll be practicing, because turning bareback is interesting. So I practice figure eights because, you're turning around because it's such a different energy. And so, but now I just do it all on my own, and I love it. It's like riding her bareback, and then the connection that your body and her body has. And you guys have taught me so much with how to ride, with also how to handle a horse. Like, I had no idea even how to halter my horse, because, we're lucky enough to have our horses in Costa Rica, which the cowboys just, you say you want to go for a ride and boom, 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 everything's done, And so recently I learned, okay, I can go halter my horse and even put the saddle on. My saddle weighs a lot, and I did it, nailed it. I always can take it. I undo it all, I do all of that. And then what I say is, necesito hombre, por favor, which is, I need a man, which is great because all the cowboys go, ah! and take my saddle off. But I've learned how to do all of it. And I never even thought I was interested in that. And you guys showed me something so different. Because for me, it's like riding is great, but I also like being with my horse, whether it's just, one of the last times when I was in her stand, like I said, she's a mare and she has mare qualities, right? And I went into her stall and she did this thing of like, I was chatting to her something, I can't remember what it was. And then putting her ears back and sort of looked at me like, get out. And what I figured is if I go, oh, okay, and get out, then she knows that that's a cue that she can keep doing that, not just to me, to anybody. So I was like, no. And I stood there and I was like, hey, I said, I'm not getting out of your stall until you're actually, nice to me, is the way I was saying it. And then she looked at me and she still had her ears back, and she did this like sneaky little like nip in my direction, like not even anywhere close, but this little nip in my direction. I was like, I'm not moving. I said, I'm going to stay here. And she looked at me like, really? Like, and so her ears started to like, change and that. And then her ears went forward and she walked over and she just stood next to me. And I was like, okay. And I said, I will get out now. Because I realized she, as you know, Pluma loves her own space like her mama. So I get that. So I wasn't going to push it. I got out. But what I did was I stood in front of her stall. I didn't touch her. And I just stood there. And because she likes to hang her head over. And someone came along and took some great photos. And I'm just standing there. I didn't pat her. I didn't touch her. I didn't do anything. I wasn't talking to her. And so slowly she put her head over next to me on the left side, on the right side. Then she started sniffing my hair. And then she started interacting with me. And I noticed the difference of how many times previously, I would have gone up, or I see people do that, go straight up to a horse and sort of have this expectation of what's about to happen. And like, you've got to allow the horse to be with you as well. And I really enjoy that, just being with a horse.
Yeah. And I think that's what they are together so much. Like, you watch horses in the field and, my horses here at home, there's 2 of them. They live together 24/7, and you watch them 99% of the time, they're just there together. Like, they're not necessarily expecting or asking anything of each other. Sometimes they'll move each other around or direct each other off or on something, but most of the time they're just being there together. And I think as people, like, exactly like you said, we go into their space with this whole litany of expectation and time, and we've got to get this done and we've got this amount of time, and the horses just get confused. They're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what you're asking of me. But when we have a space where we can meet them where they are, it's like such a gift. It's such an invitation to be more.
I have a good story about confusion. The day that I left Delugar, I was like I going to Elagar is incredible, and it's not an easy place to leave at all. And so I was going for a ride, and it was funny actually. Brendan, your brother, said to me, "I heard you're going riding in the morning. Can I ride with you?" And I went, "No." I said, "I want to go riding on my own. I just want to go riding, you know." And which was really cool because I was grateful that I actually said no. And so, but before I get on Pluma, there's a couple of the cowboys there, and I knew that I was not going to be seeing them either. So I was hugging them goodbye, etc. And I started crying, and so I jump on Pluma and I'm crying, and I'm all like, you know, whatever. So we start to go out, and she starts to like freak out, like she's like jumping and getting antsy and doing all this thing, like freaking out. And I went, fuck, what am I doing? Because she's like, what's wrong? Like, why are you so upset? You know? And it was so quick that I went, oh, I got to calm down. I got to calm down and show her me. Because she was like, I don't know who this person is, you know? And so I immediately like went, okay, I'm going to calm down. I'm going to take you in this direction, and took her a different direction so that I could also go, hey, I'm here. I'm leading you, you know, let's go. But it was such a cool tool for me because I was like, she's not buying the, oh, I'm leaving, let's cry, let's be hysterical. She's like, if you're on my back, you're freaking me out now. What did I miss? What did I miss? Is there a dragon behind that tree?
Yeah, there must be a problem because otherwise you wouldn't be acting this way. So what's the problem?
Yes. Yeah.
And I love actually one thing that Cody talks a lot about, which I've incorporated a lot into my riding. And actually one of my coaches here in Australia uses that bubble analogy. You know, when you get on your horse and you start riding out, you create like this bubble with just the two of you where, because, you know, a lot of the time you hear people talk about, oh, you know, I'm going through this, whatever it is, like I'm having a shitty day, I'm depressed, like whatever this language is that we use to describe our emotions or how we're feeling. And they're like, oh, I shouldn't go with my horses today because I don't want to bring that into their world. But it's like, your horse doesn't care if you're depressed or if you're having a shit day, as long as you are clear with them about what's going on. And I love this bubble analogy because it's like, hey, the thing that she's a bit weird, but I'm just going to keep talking. I think it's okay. Is getting around my horses. So it's like, why would you ever stop yourself from being around them just because you're having a shitty day or something? It's like, I love this analogy of like, get around your horse and then create a bubble with the two of you where it's like, hey, it's me and you, like hombres, we're here together, whatever comes up, we're here to, I'm gonna have your back, you're gonna have my back, and it changes everything.
You know, I because a lot of the times when I ride too, especially if we're riding with a whole bunch of people, I'll go, it's you and me, Pluma. It's you and me, which is that same, you know, analogy of that. And I was talking to Gary Douglas, and one of the things that he taught me as well is every single time I jump on any horse, I'll ask, will you look after me?
Yeah.
And every time, you know, I've ridden Pluma so many times, I'm like, will you look after me? Because it's an energy that you can perceive as well, because there's stuff that goes on in their world. Will you look after me? So, and then I've gone and I was giving them the energy too of like, I'll look after you, because that's something Cody taught me too. It's like, you've got to have this like this partnership, like, because they're trusting you, and it's like, so you trust them, they trust you, sort of thing. And how do you build that trust up? Like if they do get spooked by something, and you're like, you know, like I'm so grateful. Every horse I've ever ridden loves water, but I've seen friends ride through water and their horses are just like, oh my God, we're about to drown. Whereas my horses are like, this is cool. Can we play in here? Can we drink? Can we do whatever? But it's funny because I really love water too. And I looked at that last time I was there and I was like, oh, how much because I love riding through rivers. So if I have the point of view that I love riding through rivers, that's going to show the horse also that they also like riding through rivers. Although I want to say that I can't remember which horse you were riding in front of me last time we were there. It was so cute. The one that jumps over puddles.
Yeah, Plata.
Plata. So I'm following Sarah, right? And Pluma doesn't jump over puddles. She just walks through them, right? And Plata does this thing and just like jumped over the puddle. But it was so funny because I could see Pluma obviously was watching Plata and it's gone, huh, that's an idea. Never done that before. So we're like walking and come up to me. just like jumps in the air over this puddle and started doing it that whole ride. It was so hilarious to see how a horse duplicates another horse, that's in front of them. And then I think she just went, that wasn't that much fun. It was fun for me because the whole body's in the air, and it was so funny. So anyway, little side story. What was I saying? The horses and water and the trust. I don't know where I was going with that because I just get so excited about all our horse stories.
Well, another thing that I've heard you talk about as well, and I love like these little tools and tidbits for people, because I think even like, people that have been riding for a long time, the thing I love about access consciousness and the tools we play with, the energies, like being really present with the horse and kind of getting outside of like the realm of what being a horse rider is, like this world of access consciousness and conscious horse, conscious rider is sort of like so much bigger for me than anything I've ever found before. And I know there's also, because Pluma, like a lot of the horses I ride, which I tend to think is probably based on my personality as well, is she likes to look at things. Like if she sees something, you've mentioned before as well, where she'll look off or she'll fixate on something a little bit. And I know you've also got a bit of a tool with that stuff with her.
Okay. So what I used to do was when we were, out riding, because she's so inquisitive. She wants to look at everything. But I was, of course, going to, the wrongness of that and going, Pluma, like, and trying to bring her back onto, we're going forward. This is where we're going. And it was actually something that a video of some guy that I think you passed on to me. And
yeah, it was Warwick Schiller. So shout outs to Warwick Schiller, because he's a great horseman as well. Yeah,
he is. And he was talking about acknowledge your horse. So now what happens when she does that and she'll look over and I go, what do you see, Pluma? What's over there? And I'll talk and I'll be like, are there monkeys over there? Oh, the trees, the birds. Listen to those birds. Or then she'll say, I go, what's over there? And I go, but with the energy of we're going this way, but what's over there? And I'll talk to her. The funny thing is, though, I always talk to her. And people have gone riding and they go, oh, I'm going riding with Simone. I get to have a chat. So many people have ridden up next to me and they start chatting. And I'm like, no. This is not our time for social. I'm with Pluma. Like I'm not a chatter on a horse. The only time I'll chat to you on a horse is if we're talking about horses. And even then, I don't really want to get into an in-depth conversation. But I'll be riding and talking and someone goes, oh, what's that? Sorry, I didn't hear you. And I go, I wasn't talking to you. I'm talking to my horse.
Hello.
I sing to her all the time as well. I pick different songs that we sing and I sing to her but talk to her about what I see and what we see. And for me, I've noticed that it's like she wasn't frantic at all, but it creates I got it. Actually, she wasn't frantic, but because I was sort of choosing from conflict with her by going, no, come back here. And when I didn't do that, then it started to be way more in communion, because it's like two friends. Like if I'm walking along with you and you look at something and it's like, what do you see? What's over there? And it's like having that. So it's this constant malleable flow and movement of being on your horse.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to say one you mentioned with conscious horse, conscious rider too, though, and it's so different, and it is. And one of the things that Alison Cox for me brings to the class that you three do is that absolute chaos. I love Coxie. She is so chaos, and she I can do anything and I can choose anything. Because Cody's like a cowboy from, I don't know, since he was born, right? Yeah. He's a cowboy, and you have educated yourself so much from so many different people. And I admire and honor the way you have taken bits and pieces from everywhere. Like you won't go, this is right, this is wrong, this is what. You just go, oh, and you'll try it all and go, this works, this works. And Alison's just like, what? And so it's three such different energies for me that just makes it such an invitation. And all three of you, I can't talk enough about conscious horse, conscious rider classes, and especially with the three of you, is just friggin' brilliant.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And I love like all access classes, you really don't know what's going to show up until you get there. And you've got the people, you've got what they're going through, you've got the horses, you've got the combination of the two, and we get to play with some really cool exercises and energies. And I take a lot away from facilitating the classes as well.
I've been riding for a really long time, and pretty much nearly every time I got on a horse, even Pluma, I would think I was going to fall. That was just like I was looking for the disaster rather than the joy. And only in the past year, 2 years, I'd say 2 years, maybe, just over 2 years, has that stopped in my world. And I've always gone, no, I just want to walk. I don't want to run, blah, blah, blah. I love walking, absolutely love walking. I think there's such a beauty to it because just that rhythm and the heartbeat and what you can see and how you perceive everything. But I've also now learnt to love running as well. And I actually, my favorite thing would be different terrains. That's actually, and you get that at Elugar. Like, you're like, man from Snowy River, let's do it, through rivers, let's do it, and I love the diversity, I guess, is what I like. But recently there was one small movement that Cody showed me, and my whole ride changed. Because I was like, when we were running, it's like I wasn't sitting in my seat a way that held my body. So therefore I get how I was sitting. I could have fallen off. Like there wasn't a strength and a connection with the horse when I was riding. And just one small movement that he showed me, like to sit more further back, like in my seat, and it changed everything. And also where my feet were, like just a little bit more forward, like an inch, and it changed my whole ride. So there's like, if you've got something going on riding, ask someone to watch you ride and watch other videos, because it could be so minute that changes something, that changes the way your body interacts with the horse's body.
Yeah, or have someone film you. Like I did a clinic on the weekend and I had a girl film the ride that I did, and it's so interesting watching yourself back as well, because you get to see, because in the moment you're kind of going through the process, you're trying to keep things, in a certain whatever you're there to achieve during the ride. And then you watch yourself back and you're like, you get so much feedback about those things in the moment that you don't really notice sometimes when you're on the horse, because there's so much other stuff going on. So amazing. And probably one other topic I'd just like to dive into before we wrap it up is, I know also on this trip to Elugar recently, you rode other horses. Do you want to just talk a little bit about the invitation of getting on different horses that has shown, what that's shown you with your body, what it's shown you in developing as a rider, as a horsewoman, like all of that sort of stuff?
Sure. And I've got a really good story with that. So, and it's funny because, I couldn't get my horse across the other side. So I rode another horse, and the horse they put me on was very much a trail horse and had been given to a lot of people just to follow other people. And that's it, sort of thing. Nothing wrong with that. That's great, but I get on the horse and it was really super slow and just, plodding along and this whole thing. And I was like, I first went to, they've given me the donkey. They don't think I can ride, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then, so I'm riding along, and then Cody was talking to me about, like really to get it going and And so I was trying to do that and everything. And then it sort of, as the ride went on, he gave me a stick, just not to whip it or anything like that, but to have the stick. And even I've noticed that even if you have that stick in the horse's sort of eyesight sort of thing, or even just a light tap, they're like, oh, okay, showing them the energy of let's go, And so as we were riding, it was getting a little bit better, a little bit more present, etc. But the next day we went out riding and they gave me the same horse. And I was like, really? I was like, the same horse. And I'm like, and in my head, I honestly went, wow, they really must think that I'm a bad rider, giving me this donkey. So I get on, and I realized at that moment that I could go, okay, this is what the ride's going to be. The ride is going to be what the ride was yesterday. Or what else is possible today with this ride? And so immediately Cody went, do you want to? And I went, yeah, I do. I want a stick. I want to start with a stick, a branch, so that we can start this ride off different. And I was like, hey, and spoke to the horse, and I was like, it's you and me. Let's go. And immediately there was a different connection with the horse. And I mean, I think the first hill we went up, I was like, okay, let's go. And then she ran up and we, went down massive hill and did all these things. But there was such a different connection. And there was this moment when we went riding across the fields, And again, actually, everyone started running. A lot of people started running. And so I could have just ran with the crowd, right? One thing I like to do is if I'm running with a horse, I don't want to just run with the crowd. I want to run because I'm asking and with the horse and we are running together. I don't want to ride fast if my horse chose it and I didn't. And that's one thing I'm very adamant about. Okay. So I could tell my horse was like actually had this, you know, and that you get that, feel that energy in their body. And everyone, like people went running off in front, and I was like, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, you know, and we were sort of going a little bit faster, like trotting. I was like, not yet. And then I just went now and just went, vamos. Holy shit. I have never run so fast in my whole entire life. This horse was little and it was like a fucking rocket. And I was just like screaming up the hill. And Alicio, a friend of ours, was behind, just like hysterically laughing because I was literally, you could hear me just going, fuck. I mean, it was great. It was fun, but the horse was just pounding up. And I was like, holy shit, never ran that fast. That was like a rocket from the horse that was a friggin' trail rider. And so we get up the top and Alexis, the cowboy, and those other people there were just like, you know, like, yay. And then we go down. And then by the time we get back, and that horse, like, I think it was you and a couple of other people went, wow, you showed that horse how to be a horse again. And it was so beautiful. And you actually thanked me and said, Simone, thank you for actually receiving the tools and going out there and using the tools. Yeah. And it showed me how, because if I had given Pluma the signs or the motions or whatever that I had to give this horse, we would have been all like, you. If anything, you've got to pull Pluma back.
Yeah, she would have exploded.
Absolutely exploded. Yeah. So realize how when you ride a different horse, it's like, okay, what's going on with this horse? What's going on with you? How does this horse react to your things? Because I just have to think, let's go. And Pluma goes, all right, let's go, you know. Whereas with this other horse, I had to go, let's go, give it the motions with my legs, with the stick and everything. And then it started to get the energy of it. So for me, it was such a great tool to realize the difference of working with horses energetically and physically.
Yeah. And I love Gary Douglas said, like, ride as many horses as you can because every horse is going to teach you something different. Like they've all got, and I think that's one of the biggest lessons is like, what does this horse actually require of me to get the best out of it? Like so many people get on, especially if it's a rent horse, quote unquote, like a trail riding horse. Probably 80% of the people that have ridden that horse have just gotten on and been like, okay, we're going on a trail, you take me and I'll be the passenger. And then it meets someone like you where you're actually like, you know, what do you require of me to actually show you something completely different that's available here? And I think that's
I like it. Yeah, when we ride at Alugar too, it's not, I mean, sometimes we just ride behind each other, but it's like then you can just go boop, boop, up a hill or around a tree or do whatever, you know, and I think we all be that with those horses. You know, the first conscious horse, conscious rider class I ever did with you guys, I jumped on Maverick, which is David Kubis's horse. And I know it was such a great tool for me too, riding different horses, because I jumped on Maverick and immediately I did this thing of looking for the horse to give me direction. Like, and Cody looked at me and he went, Simone, ride Maverick like you ride Pluma. And as soon as he said that, I went, oh, okay, Maverick here, we're going here. And the ride was different. Maverick's taller and his body's different. So the way you move on it, all of that was different. But I went, oh, I need to give Maverick the awareness of where I want to go. I'm not waiting for Maverick. So that was such a cool tool for me. So it's like, ride this horse like you ride Pluma, like ride, like, because I know I have to ask, like, let's go here. Because she's like waiting, going, what are we doing? And I go, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, da, 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 whatever. So yeah, God, there's so much, and you learn so much every time you ride.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just get around horses, and whether you ride them or not, it's like every interaction you have with them is potentially like a life-changing lesson. Yes. And, you know, the more you're willing to just be in question in every moment with them as well. Like every morning I go and greet my horses here at home. They live in my backyard, quote unquote. And every morning I go to greet them to feed them their breakfast. But every morning it's like, it's different. Like this morning when I said good morning to them, you know, sometimes they'll hang far back. Sometimes they'll come straight up and put themselves under the shelter. Sometimes it'll be something in between. Sometimes they're together. Sometimes they're apart. Like, and if you just looked at that as like, oh, I'm just going to feed my horses, you're missing so much of the potential, like, learning from them. Like, and so every morning I try to just be like this question of like, okay, what's going on today? Like, what can I contribute to you? What can you contribute to me? You know, check in with their body, check in with them. And it's just, even just the act of feeding them for me can be something that changes everything. So I think whether you have the opportunity to ride or just to be around horses, like, my personal invitation is to get around them as much as you can and learn as much from them as possible.
Can I give an example too of, I think what horse people do is freak the fuck out about the most dumbest of things is, last time I was there, like, you know, Pluma has a big water, you know, bowl, tank, whatever you want to call it, in her stall. And every time I went there, she was putting all her hay in there. So it was really filled up. So it wasn't really water. It was just like this big, thick hay sort of, you know, wet hay thing. Yeah. So what did I do? I went, oh my God, she's putting her hay in there. And that means she doesn't have any water, you know, and I started stressing out about that. And then, you know, the cowboy said, we've tried different things, like to put the hay on the other side of the store, but she still ends up like, she does this thing with her head and she brings it over and she puts it in the water. So I was like, So I was trying to find a solution. Nobody was asking me to find a solution. Pluma seemed fine. And then Cody said to me, hey, is she okay? And I went, oh, yeah. And he said, check for a hydration, you know, and there's, you know, ways that you can check for their hydration, you know, with their skin. And he went, she's not dehydrated. She's fine. He said, so he said, look, if she was showing signs of sickness or illness or dehydrated, then I would probably do something about it. But at the moment, he said, she might like to wet her hay. She might like, you know, to eat wet hay at the moment because she's never done that before. And so as soon as I was in allowance of it and just like, okay, that's, you know, that's what you choose to do, I noticed she started doing it less as well because I was there for quite a few weeks. She started doing it less as well. But it gave me such a lesson in, why am I freaking out about something that she's choosing? Like, she's okay. She's really healthy and she's fine.
Yeah.
So relax, Simone, relax.
Yeah. And they know so much about their own bodies and what their body requires. Like, and, you know, I watched, when I got home from my last trip, I noticed the horses had started eating the bark off the outside of the mango trees, and they've never done that before. And they'd literally stand under the trees and just chomp away, eating some of the bark they would spit out, some of it they would swallow. And I was like, wow, should we put something around the tree to like stop them from doing it? And then I was like, but what if they just enjoy, what if it's giving them a nutrient? What if they enjoy it? It's stimulating them in some way. And so I just got over it. And now they rarely do it anymore. It's like, but obviously at that point in time, it was something that, and I've watched them eat dirt before, like literally pour at the ground until they're down to the dirt and then start eating away at the dirt. And it's like, maybe their body requires some mineral, but it's so interesting how they know what they require, and they'll give that to themselves, and they'll find it, and they'll create it in whatever way they need to. So the lessons of horses. Thank you so much, my friend. Is there anything else? Like, I mean, I know you're heading back to Costa Rica in a few months. Anything you want to leave us with before we end this podcast?
I want to say I've been through so many different points of view with horses. Like, I mean, I used to ride when I was really young because we used to have cousins of ours that had a property in Tamworth. They had race horses, and so we'd go up there every second weekend and be at the farm. And so I used to ride then. And I remember my mother said to me, because I thought I was scared of horses, and my mother said to me years later, oh my God, I remember you riding across the paddock and your long hair flowing back. And I'd think, oh my God, she's going to kill herself. And I went, oh my God, that's not my fear, that's hers. And that story, so many people have a really similar story. So as Sarah said, if you think you have a fear with horses, what if it's not yours? Like, we've had lifetime after lifetime, you know, on horseback. I don't walk up to all horses and I'm like, fine. It's like, I am in question every horse, even my horse. Like, I'm in question with all the horses. But for me, being with horses gets you so present. And that's what I would like to invite you to. Go pat a horse, go ride a horse, just go feed a horse, like anything. And it's like it creates a lot more presence in your world. So I invite you, like Sarah, to go play with horses.
Yeah. Amazing. Our invitation to you, find a horse and spend some time with it. And if you ever have the possibility, come and ride a horse in Elugar, because I don't know that you could put it into words. I don't know that there's anywhere else in the world that is quite like it. It's a combination of the people, the horses, the land. Like, it's just this absolutely magical, wild experience that I enjoy so much, and I always look forward to the next time I get to go there. And I just think it's magic. It's pure, unadulterated, childlike wonder and magic.
Well, and can I add to, I was just saying to Hugo, who's the head cowboy there, they are brilliant. The cowboys are so good.
Yeah.
It's like they take people who have never ridden, you know, beginners, intermediate, advanced, people who think they're advanced, but they're actually idiots. You know, they take them all, right? And they know how to handle it. Like, you are so being looked after.
Yeah. Yes. So please, our invitation to you, and we'll post some links where you can find or more about Elugar. You can watch videos. There's so much great stuff out there. And we'll both be there again in a few months. So we'll absolutely be slamming our social media with videos and stories from there as well.
There's more horses.
More horses. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for joining us again.
Sarah.
Thank you. And see you next time, guys. Thank you for watching.